Hey nerds, we are going to do a review and breakdown of The Penguin Episode 2, starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I am Colin. So this is now the second episode of The Penguin, which premiered tonight, and it is written by Erika L. Johnson and directed by Craig Zobel. The episode name is Inside Man, and its spoiler-free logline is Sofia works to secure her family's strength, while Oz puts Victor to the test. So my spoiler-free thoughts on this episode is that it is very entertaining, and it also probably needs to be rewatched to pick up on any of the subtleties that you missed. There's a lot of things that are going on that requires a lot of analysis and rethinking, and you want to learn more about what is in Oz's head all the time. He only shows a little bit of vulnerability here and there. He shows it to Vic, and not so much to his mother and to Eve as well, who you saw in the last episode. Overall, I say it was very well written, and you are starting to care about certain characters, particularly Oz and Sofia. In terms of rating, I would give it a 10 for this episode because I think that there are a lot of characters that are very compelling, like Oz and Sofia, but he almost met his demise in episode 1, but here in episode 2, you also got to see some of that as well. And he just finds a way out of any type of given situations. And we'll get to that in the spoiler part of it. But again, overall, I would say this is a very great episode. Rewatch it. I watched it twice already. And definitely something to look forward to on Sundays at 9 every week. If you enjoy content like this that we put out, please like, share, subscribe for more. We really appreciate your support, and we're trying to get many more subscribers at the end of the year. So without further ado, spoilers ahead. We get some screenshots here. I did not get some of the opening sequence where Sofia was in Arkham and she was able to see her brother Alberto without his pinky finger. And she saw him get shot, and then she snaps back from this dream sequence into an office with her therapist. And actually, it's very interesting is that the therapist is played by the same guy who was in Sons of Anarchy, and also he played Shades. If those of you that remember the Marvel Netflix show Luke Cage, he was Shades in that show, which is really interesting. So here in this scene, we get to see Oz going to visit Blackgate prison and propose that he becomes the inside man to the Falcone family for Maroni. And he comes up with a plan to steal the drops from the Falcone family, and he knows all the routes. So he's trying to play both sides to try to gain power. And this little cat and mouse game between the Maronis and Falcone, and which side is he on? He's been trying to dance around with it, and this three-dimensional chess that he's playing throughout the episode. And this is why I was saying earlier that it definitely lends itself to rewatchability and looking at all the nuances and subtleties that are in this episode. Then we find out that Oz is running the shipment of drops, but is ambushed by the Maroni family, which was as planned. But what happened was that they didn't realize that he was in the FEMA truck, and basically he got shot at as well, but he was able to escape. Sofia then suspects an inside man and hires a corrupt police detective to find out who this person it was. However, she is rebuffed by the new lead of the Falcone family, who is her uncle Luca, and he plays a pretty prominent role here. He's basically telling her to stand down while Sofia is trying to find out who is the inside man, what's going on, because it was pretty strange that the route that the drops were being pushed was compromised, and so she's trying to figure out what the heck's going on. The detective scene will come later on, but this is a scene where he was basically telling her to stand down. We also get to see the underlings, and we all hear the underling Milos and Johnny Vitti, and we know later on that Oz has some compromising pictures of Johnny, and he is set up to be the fall guy, but something happens that he didn't end up to be one of the fall guys. And this is actually the scene where they were getting shot at, going back to the truck. And the driver actually commented that he was a traitor, but then Penguin basically shot him there. Oz invites Vic to his home with Eve and her women. Oz reassures Eve that his cover-up will work and that things will be on the up and up pretty soon. So he makes all these very grandiose promises, not only to his mother, but also to Eve, but also to Vic. I think that he's always trying to think highly of himself. Some of that might get him into trouble, but some of that, luckily, he's been able to get his way out of situations where they have been very hairy. He almost tries to manifest certain things to come to existence. And again, this is the part where she was having the conversation with Oz about, hey, I've covered you up because I know that you killed Alberto on that night. And again, reaffirming the fact that she's in danger. And Oz is saying, hey, don't worry about it. We'll get it done. And you and your girls will prosper. As for Vic here, Vic tried to flirt with one of Eve's girls. He's trying to come to his own in a lot of ways, being his driver. And there's a lot of things that he still needs to work on, being in that underworld. And you'll find out when we get to that scene where he stumbles and he chokes. But in any case, I think that he's still in it over his head. And that's the main thing, is the balance between what he is right now and what he wants to be, and how that growth process is going to go about. We don't really know yet, but it's still very interesting to see that progression throughout this episode. We also find out that his mom is suffering from dementia, and so he made a quick visit to his mom's house before he went to Alberto's funeral. This was actually from the trailer where they were dancing together and him reassuring his mom that everything's going to be all right. I am going to be the leader. I am going to be running things. You don't need to worry about me. Then we find out that we saw Nadia Maroney in the previous scene, and she's pretty pissed off right now because one of their henchmen got caught by the detective and by the Falcone family. So she was about to kill Oz, and Oz was like, wait, hold on, and basically gave this folder of those compromising pictures that I talked about earlier of Beatty and Luca's wife. And that was his leverage to try to get himself out of that situation, and also to reassure Nadia that I'm going to be able to take care of this. Let me get the guy out. I'm working for Falcone. So there's going to be some things where you're going to be happy about. You're going to get that power back. I am still loyal to you in a lot of ways. Now, Nadia, of course, has her reservations and said that in the beginning, in subtitle language, that even a dog has its usefulness. And so it's very interesting to see how she might be playing him, but he probably does know that she's playing him. But at the same time, he knows how to handle all these type of relationships, and that makes him a very charismatic character. We get to see the funeral with Alberto, with Sofia and Oz telling stories about his mother. Of course, he lied to her, basically saying that she's dead, but maybe in a lot of ways it's an interpretation of the fact that she's dying from dementia. There's some stuff going on, and with her questioning whether or not Oz is on her side, and Oz trying to convince her, hey, everything's going to be all right. Again, all that type of sweet talk that he's trying to give to her. We also get to see, before they went to Falcone's house, that Vic was given a pep talk by Oz, saying that you shouldn't flinch, you should do what I tell you to do. I think that in a lot of ways, Oz is the most truthful that he is to Vic. And so I think that Vic doesn't really sense that, but the audience definitely does sense that there is an authenticity between the two, because whether or not he felt sorry for him or he felt sympathetic about the fact that Vic is a stutterer, we don't really know the intention of it, but it leans to the fact that he has a disability, Vic has a disability, and there is a soft spot for him, like I said in the previous review. Even though we'll find out later on that he messes up, there's a forgiveness factor that's going to happen. And so what happened is, I don't have screenshots of this, but while he was in the dinner party, he was able to encounter Maroney's henchmen in the basement, And basically, because Vic wasn't able to do his part, he had to kill him, and he had to hide the knife. And then the Falcons were able to trap everyone. And there was a very dramatic scene where Oz was trying to plant the knife to Johnny, but it ended up being in Falcon's henchman, which was actually Sofia's henchman, Castillo. And basically, Castillo gets shot because of it. And so here in this scene, Vic basically had to bury the bodies of both Maroni's henchmen and also Castillo because of all the F-ups that Vic did. Oz was able to say, look, this is what happens when you choke. And it's a very poignant scene because it tells him that, hey, you're going to die if you do not think quick, if you do not react quicker enough, if you don't do what you need to do. It's very simple for him, but it's not as simple as it for Vic, because I think that maybe he has some morality to him. Maybe he has some reservations as to being a criminal. Who knows? But I think that there might be still a lot of conflict within Vic to say, I want to be someone noticeable, someone big, but I don't really have the experience. I don't have the maturity, or I don't have the intestinal fortitude to become what Oz wants me to be. So that's a very interesting character study to how he's trying to evolve, and it's still an ongoing process. And Oz even told him that whenever Carmine threw at me, I delivered on every goddamn time, which was really cool because it gave him some humanity that I've been in this situation before, but I went through it. You just need to go through this situation as well. And one last thing before we wrap up is that Luca actually suggested to Sofia to go to Lake Como, which is in Italy, and the end scene where Sofia and Oz were talking, Sofia solidified the fact that I need you on my side, and we're going to run this together and push out Luca and Johnny and all the rest of the individuals that are in the Falcone family so that they can rule. So it seems as though Oz's plan of trying to consolidate both the Maroni family and the Falcone family into his enterprise, it's on its way, and his vision is that he's able to run the criminal enterprise in Gotham. So those are my thoughts about The Penguin episode 2. We want to see what you have to say about the episode and about the show overall. Comment down below. Like, share, subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you in the next video. All right. Take care, everybody.